Okay. All
Don't
right.
suck, Miles.
Oh, I swear. That'll be hard. Okay, so oh wait, I made a joke. All right, so yeah, hi, my name's Miles. I'm an addict, and I'm here to present the presentation on utilizing the Google Workspace in the service realm. With me is Art J from San Fernando Valley, and part of this, and the reason we're doing this is because this is something that worked for us in the Southern California region to help bring down the IT cost of Narcotics Anonymous as a whole in our region. I think this is a really, if you're concerned about the financial impact that your service work has on your service committees, because we have hundreds, that giving them a space to save documents, to maintain emails that do not change between service positions, and allowing them to use the full suite of Google Suite tool or Workspace tools, it's a really good thing because it unifies everyone under the same network. So we'll take a look at that. I'm just basically going to walk you through the slides, and I'll have these available at the end of the presentation. Art also has a set of slides, and he'll talk about how the San Fernando Valley implemented this at the area level. So at the Southern California Board of Regional Directors, we were all members, as members of the BOD of the SCRSO, Southern California Regional Service Office. We were responsible for the business end of the Southern California Regional Service Committee and all its corporate responsibilities. We serve and seek to find ways of carrying the NA message more effectively at the most financially responsible way. In the IT directorships, we implement technology and processes which cover the need of the fellowship using technology assets and to protect it from the perceived liabilities that come with technology. For instance, spam filters and hacking, things like that. Most nonprofits qualify for somebody's calling me right now, that's funny. Most nonprofit organizations qualify for Workspace. You must have the following set up before you start this process. You should have a 501c3 designation by the IRS. If you're in a different country, they also have different types of designations that will show that you're a nonprofit. You'll just have to have the federally accepted version in your own country. You'll need a bank account, a website, and some stable contacts that you can use for the domain, for the use of the same domain. You're going to need to have somebody at least 6 months in this position because it takes a long time to get all the parts rolling. The implementation for us took over 2 years to do. One of the things that you're going to need is a Guidestar account and a page, a Techsoup account, and own a domain that you can use for Google Workspace. Guidestar, we're, as an NA service body, we're not affiliated with any of these things, but these are the requirements to get these things done. We need to fill out a Guidestar profile, which is a scorecard for nonprofit organizations. It's a nonprofit organization itself dedicated to helping donors find appropriate charities and donate to. Unlike other nonprofit organizations, we don't accept donations from non-members, but in order to get Google Workspace, we need this listing to authenticate our nonprofit as well as to help define how well we are performing our primary purpose. You will need to set up all nonprofit corporate identification numbers to set up this account. One thing that's really interesting about Guidestar is that if you have financial documents, they need them, and for us, financial documents are transparent because California requires us to make a report, and that report goes into this portal. It's not everything in Guidestar can be shown to the public. They have a membership as well that will allow people to see more information about what we're self-reporting. Guidestar asks us to do a couple of things, and here's what it looks like when you've already set up your nonprofit. And what they do is they basically rank you by how much information you give, how much information can they verify, and if your bottom line is really attractive to them. And for us, our bottom line is that out of, I think we have space for 14 active directors, and we have one employee. So our income to spend ratio used to be very, very good because our employee did not take up most of the money. Because of COVID, for a short time, we got our funds came down, and our employee cost remained the same. So we had a project that came in later last year that increased our revenue by going online with our store. We can show you that later if you're interested in seeing that. In order to get Google Workspace, you'll have to, in the United States, you have to create an account with Techsoup.org. Techsoup is also a different, we're not affiliated with them, but because we need to have that authentication from Google, Techsoup does validate also. It's kind of a checks and balances, second validation of our nonprofit organization. Techsoup reviews nonprofit information at Guidestar and does some additional research. Techsoup is also a good resource for discounted software and hardware. If you need to supply that to your ASC, your Area Service Committee, or your RSC, Regional Service Committee, or even at the RSO, we use them to get our computers sometimes. We still get some software licenses from them for QuickBooks. And we also had another project for QuickBooks that was rolled back because the employee refused to learn it. And let me see, is somebody's talking here? Oh, thanks. Art's clarifying for me. Thanks, Art. For instance, we purchase a computer system every couple of years to replace the aging systems that live at the RSO and where the RSC and some areas meet. So we have a meeting space connected to the regional service office that's like a boardroom, and that boardroom has been rented by us for, I can't even tell you how long, maybe at least 20 to almost 30 years. And some areas meet there, and most of the regional service committees meet there, and they can still meet there now with limited capacity. But we also furnish them with 2 computers in the back room to print reports and do other things that they might need to do. If they need a calendar, they can use that calendar system in there. And for the longest time, we've been purchasing Microsoft Office for every computer, as well as trying to keep the OSs up to date. So part of that problem is that we're spending, in the beginning, Microsoft Office was very expensive. It wasn't $99 a year. And we were losing like $1,200 to Office when we were, when we would buy licenses for all the machines. This is one of the reasons why we moved to, let me see, I'm screwing up my computer now by moving stuff around. Hold on, sorry about that. So this is why we moved to G Suite, as well as some other benefits. So when you're in Techsoup, this is what that looks like. Obviously, the screenshot was taken before 9/26/2021. If you went to the WZF, the Western States Zonal Forum, the Western States Learning Days, you might have seen this presentation already. It's just rebranded for this. So when you apply for Google Workspace, formerly G Suite, the products are always changing. So what happens is they have a huge catalog of Google apps, and most of those apps are bound together as a free service to people. But there's one thing you can't do, and that's you can't network those free things together. With the G Suite or the Google Workspace, you can now network all of your users together so that they no longer have to send stuff like basically through open email. It can go through Gmail to Gmail. It can be put in a shared space. You can put your documents all together. They don't have to be exposed to the internet. And one of the other reason why we do this is because there are some Excel documents that had Narcotics Anonymous written all over it, and some members' phone numbers and names, and Google indexed them. So those people got their anonymity was exposed by just putting their spreadsheet on a website. What we do and how do we use it? So authentication and authorization. We use Google to authenticate who's actually in our system and who's and what privileges do they have once they start using it. We use email identity management. So your email is your password into the system, your username and password. We have shared drives that we divide between region, committee, position. We do policy enforcement that I basically only enforce on the admins. So if you have super admin control, you also will have a policy that you need multi-factor authentication, because we don't want to let that be compromised because of some bad password. We want to be able to reclaim that pretty quickly. Domain level application control, so we can grant access to use an application that Google has in the suite. Usually we don't restrict these, but there are some things that we don't want people to do, like start writing code in the environment. Acquiring and hosting domains. Art will actually talk about hosting the SFV domain, but we started with 2 domains that I purchased a long time ago because they matched our acronyms for for the region, and it's SCRSO, which is the Southern California Regional Service Office, and SCRSC, which is the Southern California Regional Service Conference. So those are the domains that we came into this with. Oops, what happened there? Also, we by using this, we acquire professional APIs used for the BMLT and other services, and we pass on accounts after terms expire rather than forwarding everything to somebody else's email. So this is one of the most important items, because people pass away and people get loaded sometimes, and we are unable to retrieve the documents that they've been passing around their emails or maybe had on their computer. In order to change an email, to basically reclaim that user and all that email information, all we have to do is change the password and remove their emergency recovery information. We could just pass that on to the next person. So when we're looking at the G Suite, this is the administration console. It has things that you would expect to see in here. We have 63 active users right now, but we actually have the potential for thousands because it's unlimited. We can have unlimited emails. And right here, you see the user panel. And actually, I wanted to go through this first. There's the directory, which is users and groups. And yeah, users and groups, and some, I think, distribution groups. Devices, which are, we don't use this service because we're not enrolling devices specifically by their MAC address. These are the apps that are included with the G Suite. This is where you turn apps on and off. Security is obviously where you configure roles, add new super users, create sub super users that can manage their own domain. Reporting, these are things that, these are basically like little Power BI views that that show up, and I can browse through this later if we have time at the end through the real one. The billing, obviously we don't want everybody to see that. Only super users can see this. So currently, both IT groups can, both IT users can see this, as well as the chair and the treasurer. So those are the only people who can actually work with billing. The account is has some configurations in it. It has to do with the subscription as well as deleting the account. So you really don't ever need to go in there. And then there's rules that you create to enforce certain actions on certain kinds of groups or certain kinds of applications. So the directory inside the users, this is the actual user here. The email is the username, and then the password is whatever they set up when they enroll on their device. So right now you can see that we have a bunch of different organizations here underneath. And right now we're saying users from all organizational units. This is the top level organizational unit only because it requires a hierarchy. But the way we look at it is, that is the, oh, come on, really? that is crazy. So that is the financial holder. So basically the account belongs to scrso.org, which is the Southern California Regional Service Office. And then all these ones below it are the areas. So we have one for the region and the rest for the areas, which are, these mimic their website addresses. So interesting thing is that we were on this for 2 years prior. The regional service office was on this for 2 years, working with the tool, experimenting with how we would use the users and the groups and the drive space. And it turned out to be pretty successful. We had some hardline people who did not want to get on this system. They didn't want another email. But the thing is that it's not their email anyway. This email is directly tied to a position in the regional service structure or the area service structure. So as we look at the emails, it's like activities at some domain name, or alternate RCM, or alternate secretary, or IT director, or chair, or vice chair. There's nobody's name in here as the owner of the account. We don't want people's names in these accounts. So if we take a look at my record here, you'll see if you scan from the top to the bottom, there's some user information in this box right here. And my email is I have a couple. So one, I have an email that's information technology at SCRSO. That is my login name. I also have CIO at SCRSO, which is an alias that can be given to the next, that can be just left here. And the alias will be good for everyone who uses this system. My recovery information, which you can see in the third box from the top, that says security, my email and my phone number are there. So when my email and phone number are there, I can reset my password by just signing into Google with information at technology at SCRSO and then resetting my password. And then that whole chain of events will come up. I can even set up two-factor authentication, which is basically what it says here. My two-step verification is on. And then I have 5 connected applications. I'm a member of a lot of groups, which you could see below. And this is really all I have for you. Does anybody have any questions? Is anybody there?
So,
Good job.
So, if let's say hypothetically we had a region that was using HostGator,
yeah,
to manage multiple domains,
mm-hmm.
right? How difficult? Because it seems as though. So I saw all those domains. So those domains are. How are those? Who's managing the domain?
Okay, sure.
DNS?
So here's the thing: we do not manage the DNS of the system. What happens is, as we roll on each area or each committee or any email address that has to do with any server or any domain that has to do with any service, we point their MX records to specific records that Google has asked us to. Those MX records become and we do an email migration as well. So you would do the email migration and then change the MX records. The MX records then point the user to the G Suite. So when you try to log into Google, like the Google app, you would use your account name and then create a password, and then you would have access to all your email. We do migrate the emails from the old servers prior to creating these. We create all the emails on the back end. Then we do the migration from email to email, and then we move the MX records. And within about 20 minutes to a day, I think SFB had a slow time, the emails will point to G Suite, but hosting and everything else is going to happen on your own server. We don't. You can use the websites that are available on G Suite by creating websites in your domain. But that, no, we don't really have that much going on. We have some RDs making surveys for the fellowship right now.
Okay.
I kind of
I guess I'm
over-explained
still
that, didn't I?
I guess I'm still kind of confused with this. I might talk to you later because
Sure.
I'm trying to think. What level of effort would it be to move everything off of HostGator into this?
Okay.
Would we have the same when we have the same access to all the interface dashboards that we have on HostGator, such as HostGator has the WordPress initiating the WordPress. It has the main administrator password reset if you forget it to get to it. And I'm just not seeing if all those type of functions are here.
Yeah. So this is basically the G Suite is a shell for all of the Google tools. WordPress can't be hosted on the site. So if you're going to have an external site, you can have an external site and host your DNS off there. You can host, you can point DNS to the sites. So if you have like your site name at scrso.org hosted here, you can write a record out to it from wherever you're hosting your DNS. So WordPress isn't affected if you don't move your A records and your name records from your primary hosting provider or from wherever you're hosting the site. So the only things that get changed are the MX records, but there is a process, and Art is going to talk about the process of doing the migration of users, which is the migration of email. And after that, once the email is migrated and you have the user log in, then they have all these options available to them.
So if we don't have email accounts, we've got a lot ahead of the game.
Yeah, if you don't have existing email accounts, you're good. You just create those new users, and you're done. You just give out the email and say, hey, reset the password, and it's yours. And they just one of the things I suggest is to create a Chrome profile, and that way you can just log into Chrome and then just use the Chrome's authentication to get from one app to another instead of having to open different apps on a computer. On your phone, it's handled a little differently.
Thank you.
Sure. Any more questions? I'm going to turn it over to Art. Go ahead, Art.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you want to share your screen?
Navy man.
I'm not sure how to get rid of this toolbar. Or do you see the toolbar?
We don't see it.
Okay. So my name's Art. I'm an addict, and I have had the pleasure of working with Miles to create this and integrate it for the San Fernando Valley area. That's the area I'm from. I've been involved with the website for a long time, and I just want to shout out to everybody that it's all it is new words, and it's nothing to be scared of. And I came to the website not knowing anything about anything, and through the patience of the trusted servants from numerous areas on that committee, I have picked up some limited web skills. So we transitioned to Google Suite, G Suite. It's not really called that anymore, but that's what I call it. And we started this process. In the beginning, the way we did our documentation was the RCM treasurer provided written reports, and the secretary provided the previous month's minute at each ASC. All area subcommittees provided written reports to the ASC. Additionally, if you had a bank account, you would provide a financial statement. So we would have all these reports generated every month, and the secretary was responsible to hold a year's archive per the guidelines, and they would stack them up on a table at the beginning of the ASC, and everybody would help themselves and eventually throw everything away afterwards. So we had a little money issue one year, and we lost $5,000 in due to counterfeit $50 bills at one of our conventions, our area convention. And the way we had set up our donation system is we depended on that donation every year, and we donated ourselves accordingly. So before that donation came, we had donated all our money over our prudent reserve, and found ourselves in a little bit of a situation with money. So our the first thing we did was we had to find a way to save some money, and printing was the number one thing, because we were spending a lot of money on printing. So we started a Google group for the area, and it, it worked out pretty good. We could distribute all the minutes, all the reports, the financial statements, guidelines. We could distribute all that on the ASC Google group, and it had the ability to archive stuff. So it had some downsides too. It's for one thing, it was attached to somebody. It was somebody had to open that account. We are not a business. There's a 15 gigabyte aggregate limit on email and the drive. And it had, the archiving was okay, but it was kind of limited. You'd have to really struggle to search for something that was a year old. So when the RSO, when the corporation got G Suite, we got together, me and Miles, and discussed using the San Fernando Valley as a test bed to migrate into G Suite, because I don't know how long the corporation had G Suite, but we hadn't even used it. Nobody had used it, only the corporation. So first thing we did, we sat down and we created a spreadsheet. I went to the cPanel, wrote down all the email addresses, made a copy. Actually, we made a copy of every email address in the region off the cPanel for every area, because we anticipate more people will want to transition to this, because it's really a pretty good thing. So we created a list of all the active emails in the area, and set some time aside and migrated the mail servers, and got the email set up. Then we set up some drives and set up some groups, and we have we took the original ASC Google group and harvested all the names off it and uploaded them into the G Suite. So people would be getting double reports for a while, because we knew that the transition was going to be a little slow. People are not very keen on changing anything, and when you really have somebody that really doesn't want to look at the email to begin with, it's hard to convince them what the advantages are of having the Google Suite. Their interest is limited to begin with. So the first thing we did, we took and limited posting privileges only to chairs, vice chairs, and executive body, because the original Google group started to become a message board, where somebody would put up a report and then you'd have like 3 or 4 comments. So we don't want that. It's for distribution of documentation, some archiving, and announcements, and that's the purpose of the board. So we created a document to show the advantages of the Google Suite, and started announcing it at the ASCs. And eventually, after we had it all set up, we implemented it, and we've been using it for a couple of years now, almost a couple of years. There's still some people that struggle with it. We created a slideshow to show people how to log on to their email account. The biggest problem was compliance, and I'm going to tell you, if you have a Google account, it is much easier than if you don't. If you are a Yahoo user, you can still use it, but it's not as friendly. It does offer some document storage in the G Suite, or in the Google group, but it's not as good as a structured document library. We have drives set up for every subcommittee, and we share drives, share folders with the ASC, main ASC drive. We would like to have a method to be able to drill down from a WordPress site, embed the drive into a WordPress site and drill down into it. But while there is a solution for that, it's expensive, and it's a recurring cost. And instead, we created in our area, we created a document library out of built a second WordPress site and put a bunch of folders in it, and just created a document library. And we have a guy that harvests the documents off of the Google, the group, the ASA group, every month. It's about maybe 15 documents, and uploads them into the drive, or uploads them into the website. So this brings up an additional maintenance layer for the second WordPress site, and also, excuse me, if you want a nice looking library, you have to have a functional naming convention. So that's something to think about too. But one of the advantages of the G Suite is that when you're in Google Docs in your drive, all you have to do is create a copy of the previous month's report, change the title, and then you can create your new report instead, edit your old report into your new report. Similar to what you're probably doing on your computer already, if you're doing reports on your computer. So the benefits: it eliminates webmail, and if you're familiar with Roundcube or Horde, you notice that the user interface is not that friendly. With Google, it's with Gmail, which is essentially what you're using. It's really easy to control your email. You can mark stuff as spam. You can create subfolders. There's no storage limit. And the best thing of all is that it removes personal information from the email address. Now, if you consider you're using web distributed or webmail, a web-based mail system, you have people that send email to the activities committee, and that email is distributed through a distribution unit from your cPanel to somebody's personal email. And even though you've given them the opportunity to log into webmail, our experience is they don't want to do that. So they're going to answer that email from their personal email, which now brands that email with their personal email address. And this not only creates an anonymity issue, but you also have lost the return. You've broken the chain of the email, because that email, any further conversation is going to go to the email that you sent it from. And with the Google group, you can, or with the suite, you're locked into the email address that's tied to your position. So you get anonymity and no storage limits, and it outlives the service position rotation. So when you're no longer chair of activities committee, you can take your new chair, and your new chair is just going to assume the email account. You're going to pass it down to them, and they're going to pass it down to the next one. And you have all the you have custody of all the previous email, which is really important, because all that archived email could probably be useful. Well, I think that's the end. It's really dusty here. I'm at work, and I didn't plan on working on Saturday, and so I'm.
Well, thanks, Art. I do have I can show more of the G Suite if people want to see it, and I do think that these people who are chatting should really speak up in the meeting, because there's a lot of good things that they're saying. We do get other apps, keep sheets, forms, reminders, calendars, sites, classroom. There's you can use the one of the things that we use is the remote desktop feature, because as the IT people of the Southern California region, we do have to support the store. So the store has computers, and sometimes our trusted servants mess stuff up, or they lose a backup, or hopefully you can't hear my dog just going off the hinges right now. they lose a backup or they do something that requires attention. And, you know, I live quite a distance from the regional service office, so it's easier for me to use the what do you call the remote desktop feature for that's included with the G Suite as well as Chrome. So I wanted to show you that we do have, right now we're hosting 4 domains. 2 of them are areas. Oh, and before we go any further, does anybody have any questions? Do they want to see something specific about the G Suite interface?
Can I just ask real quickly if you use Google Meet for virtual meetings, the fact that they provide a solution?
We can use Google Meet, but there is a maximum amount of people who can attend. At the beginning of the pandemic, it was 25 people per meeting. Then they raised that to 50 when I think that they lowered it again. We never used this as a meeting tool because most of our, so if you were in the convention committee, there wouldn't be enough seats to have the whole committee in the same meeting. And I believe even if you were in the website subcommittee, there might be just enough seats to have their whole committee in the same meeting. Somebody's raised their hand and I can't see participants yet. Hold on for just a second. Why can't I see that? Because I'm sharing. I can't see whoever's, oh wait, here you are. Rainbow Cup. You have your hand share? You have your hand up? Heather?
Yeah, I'm an addict named Heather, and I have some questions about Gmail as part of this, and I don't know if it's too early in your presentation to ask these questions.
We're at the end, and it's a good thing to ask questions now.
Oh, okay. I'm an addict named Heather, and I wear many hats. So I have 3 different emails, 3 different First of all, I don't like Gmail. I don't like the whole Google Workspace. It makes me crazy. So I just have to say that. But so I have these 3 emails, and on my iPad or my iPhone, I can see all inboxes, but on my computer I cannot. So is there a way to do that? Because it's really frustrating that I have to then go to Google and open a new page for this email and then open a different page for my other email. Is there a way to have them all on, like, see all inboxes on my computer?
Well, there is a way. So I use Mac products mostly. On my iPhone, there is an app for mail, and I can see all of my Gmail accounts listed in my account thing. So if I look at all inboxes, I could see everybody there. In the Chrome interface, you cannot, because you're using Chrome. So the way I use Chrome is that I use it as an identity manager. And then there's 2 identities here. There's the regional service office identity, which is this one. And then there's mine own at the bottom. I switch between because I don't want to see NA stuff in my personal inbox. And I also don't want to see, you know, my personal stuff in the NA box. But when I look at my phone, I just basically see, if I go to, if I look at my box, I can see email from all of my boxes in my phone. So you may, I'm not sure what kind of phone you have, but there's probably a native email app.
So Miles, sorry to interrupt you. So
Sure.
I'm a Mac user. I'm an Apple user. All my devices are Apple. I can see all my inboxes on my iPhone and on my iPad, but I cannot on my iMac. And I do most of my service work on my computer. And so I have to keep opening, like I have to open a new page.
Browser.
Yeah, for each.
Yeah,
for each
so the
email.
framework of the G Suite works with Chrome, but it authenticates through Chrome as well by using this kind of login system.
Mm.
And when we do that, it's passing authentication and credentials through this app. So it doesn't, it right now at this present time does not do multi-authentication for different logins because of the rules that we could set up based on these system rules right here. So when I log in, if I were going to log out of my browser and then log back in, it would tell me that this browsing session and all of the properties within it are controlled by an administrator of your workspace. When you log into your own Gmail, it doesn't say anything like that because there's nobody else controlling your assets.
Okay.
So there's a whole different set of rules, which is why we don't have regular Gmail with this. So my regular Gmail never collides with any of the information in the SCRSO workspace. But like I said, you can actually set up Gmail in your mail app on a Mac. And I have a Mac here that I'm using, and I see your hand, Mark. I will get to you in just a second. And I can set up in the accounts section where my work account is in there too, so I'm not going to bring it up. But you can open up mail and add an account using the online accounts kind of thing when you go to system preferences and internet accounts. And I mean, I think that's
what I'm going to do then. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah, because I have 2 ORSCNA accounts, and then my account that I use with Southeast Zonal Forum. Okay, thank you.
And so what I really love is that I could show you my inbox because there's nothing in here that's wrong. You know what I mean? Like everything here is for NA. That, you know, you don't see my business deals, you don't see, you know, whatever. And the other thing is that all of my contract stuff that I've agreed to is here. So if I did something with the Google Workspace, like we had whenever you open a ticket with Google for a problem, they respond to you. And I find that the response times are really fast. I've worked several problems through with the tech support, and it's free. So it's kind of like you have your own free tech team. Anyway, so I hope I answered the question. And Mark S. Oh, I think we have to unmute you. That's why. Thanks for your question, Heather.
Yeah, thanks. I was thinking about her issue there, and one of the solutions would be to create different Chrome profiles for the different emails. That way, you know, or the other solution would be to create some filters within Gmail to just sort out the emails that are coming in from the various email addresses. So that, you know, that was just my suggestion. Thanks for the workshop. Has your region thought of using Classroom as a means of not just delivering some training, but some onboarding for new people, as well as looking at Google Classrooms because the Classroom has a stream, so it's kind of like a blog at the same time, and as a repository for a number of resources and maybe a glossary of terms or anything like that.
That's a great idea, and we would love someone like you to implement that. We don't have so currently it's just Art and me. We're actually not in these positions anymore, but we do support the administrative functions of the system still. I was in this RSC for 2 years prior, and then 4 years recently. So this is kind of like a long game. So when you start supporting something that's on the side or not a primary function of the G Suite, it's a really good idea to train somebody. So I would love to learn about that if you know anything about the Classroom, because I'm not a teacher, so I never got that kind of training, and they do teach that. Do you have anything else, Mark? Would you like to offer training? Because I would love to get trained in that. You know, like how to use it. Oh, you were muted still. Oh shoot,
Yeah,
Mark.
you guys muted me back. I'm an instructional designer. I was a teacher for 20 years, and I
Nice.
started creating some training for my region. And I'm looking at either using Google Classroom or Adobe Articulate if we can get, Techsoup to agree to take us on. But it's one of those platforms that can be a repository for a number of things.
Sure.
And because it connects to everything else, because it connects to Drive and Google Keep and Forms, anything like that, and allows to create quizzes with forms so that, a small assessment can be done to determine whether or not people understood the content, and then you can review your content. If it wasn't, successful, if too many people are failing your quiz, then, maybe you need to revisit your training, those types of things.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Actually, I would like to get your information. I'll show mine at the end of this. I
Okay.
just wanted to thank Art because he has to go back to work and can't answer any
Thanks, Art.
questions at this time. So if everyone can thank Art, that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, Art, yeah.
Art, you the man.
Yeah.
Love
Mark,
that.
yeah, Mark.
Yeah. Okay, so
And Miles.
thank you. Well, I just wanted to show you a couple of things, unless it's time. I don't remember what time it's over, but so in the workspace, okay, in the workspace, we have all of these tools. They're always on. We always turn them on, and they're on for every organization. So everybody in the system can reach these tools through the login. If we go back to apps overview, there are additional services that can be applied to the account. Lots of them. You can have Google Translator. You can have you can have individual storage, location history, all kinds of things that we are not. They're turned on, but nobody's really using them. Like Google for developers, we don't have a bunch of developers who are here writing apps for us. But we do have some developers that have written apps for us for the BMLT. The other thing that we have is we have web apps, and I'm sorry, these are the web apps. We have an API, and I almost forget how to get there. That's I guess I did forget. That's horrible. Okay, let me just show you what the reports look like real quick. Like I said, they're like Power BI reports. They tell you what's going on, and then you can actually like view the details, and then it'll tell you what's being stored. And we have unlimited storage, so we're really still being underutilized. There is like a fake cap of 30 gigabytes per person on there, and I don't think we'll ever reach it, but if we ever did, we could just call them and say we need more space, and they'll give it to us.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what's really awesome. We don't have to pay for space. And I think a lot of, like, for us, even on when I was in the Hollywood NA fellowship primarily, we paid a lot for document storage, because every year we'd grow more documents. If somebody was like, hey, let's throw all the MP3s up on the server, that would increase the drive space, which would increase the cost of the service. So by doing this, we think we've saved the region at least $12,000 in funds, across the areas. That's like the minimum amount that we've saved them. Because the emails are free. Because the emails are free, that shows us that, sorry. Because the email creation and our users, wait, where's the thing for, okay, so admin. So we could add unlimited users to this system. There could be 5 million users here, and all these emails would be free. But in Hollywood, we used to have to pay for the emails individually, and some hosting companies charge $5 a month for these emails.
Sure.
So
Do you use it for groups as well?
yes. So groups can be seen if we go to, let's go to the west side because I think they created some. So all the users are here, and they did some crazy stuff. They created some stuff that we were trying to figure out, like they're trying to test some problem, and so their users have funny names right now. But you can create groups, and I think the best way to show that is, let's go to Drive real quick. So I can give you so these are all the shared drives we've created. These are top level drives that people have specific privilege to. So I can see in almost everything. I'll put you into the BOD IT administration. This is my executive drive that I use for my position. And there's only 3 people in this drive. There's me and the chair of the system. Oh, Chuck's the chair now. That's interesting. Okay, so see, I never go to a committee because I don't vote. So this is the WSLD folder. Last year, we did the same sort of presentation. We also did an IT presentation that I will never do again because I don't teach IT. But this is where the NEZF documents are for us. I'll be sending these off to your coordinator. But we have manuals, hardware information, compliance material. We have a statement of information from the state of California. We also have regular IT stuff that has to go in here that I just realized aren't in there. And then we have, oh, what happened here? Where's my report? Oh, that's why my report goes in the other drive. It goes out here. Here. Oh, that's something else too. Sorry. It goes here. So I put all my reports in here. And then these are all the sensitive information that we don't want released. These are internal documents. PII, I think these are the compliance reports that we have to do for credit card processor. And then, my budgets were here. And I haven't had to make one because I'm not the CIO anymore. But there's a lady with her hand raised, and I'm going to unmute you, but I can't see her name.
Hi there.
Hi, Alicia.
My name's Alicia. I have a question. I may have missed this part, but did you say how, I know with Google Workspace, the person who has admin rights really has a lot of control, and how do you designate how many people have that controls, like that console panel overview as far as the control of being able to reset passwords or add in 2-step verifications and things like that?
Okay, so there are 2 levels of super user. One is the creator super user, which is the account that we use to create this whole system. Then there is the granted super user. Right now, let me see, where do I know that there's a way for me to see groups, and that's somebody, oh, here we go, right here. So right now we have groups with their own, with like a distribution group name. And so there are some predefined groups, and these are the ones that we created ourselves. So like there's San Fernando Executive Committee, phone line. So you're actually talking about the account groups, and those are admin roles. So there's super admin, groups admin, user admin, help desk admin, services admin, groups reader, groups editor. These are new ones that they just created. We're in the beta release system, so we see all the beta stuff. legacy enterprise support, and then the Westside NA administrator. This is a custom role that we created that allows them to move that allows them to do these privileges. They can read the organizational units, and in the users, they can do these things with the user, but they can only do it for their westsidena.org. The super user people are, let's see. So if you're in the admin roles, so you're either a super user, you have to be a super user to see finance and to change permissions for anyone else. So as this user, I can do all of these things. I have to bring my, you can do all of these tasks and all of these tasks. The way that we assigned it was this. Right now, there's me, there's the original user that we used to create the system, then there's Art, and then the chairperson of the region. They should always have master use, have a administrative login. Even though that they're not, they may not be computer savvy, they can be relied on to reset the system or basically kick somebody out who is a super user who shouldn't be anymore. So if I was like, so say I get loaded, which I hope I never do, somebody could just go in there, view the admins, and remove me from super user. They would go in here and remove me this way, I think. And then they would click on my name and oops, I don't want to click on anything now because I got really crazy. And then they would unassign me from the role. Okay, so this has to do with review.
Is that what you want to have happen?
What do you mean?
Are you trying to recruit someone to take over super admin?
Oh, yeah. So that's the thing is like, we want somebody to come in and be the next person. Like basically, we set this up so that they could be used. And so basically, they would not actually turn me off. They would just do my, they would just make my login invalid. So you can remove somebody from the role, but basically now it's too small. That's great. So what you would do is you go to my username. And you would go to, really? Do it here. So you would go to my account and you would change, you would remove this recovery information from here, and then you would change my password, and I would not be able to log into the system. Does that make sense? Are you still muted? Why is she muted again?
I'm sorry. So that does answer my question as far as like how you do it. I kind of knew that part. I guess my question is, how do you decide who has those super admin rights? And, you know, committees often are sometimes very thinly represented. So you may have a very few people who might be on what you might consider like an administrative body or something like that. So you might only have one or two people. I mean, how do you decide who has that?
I will tell you that it is in California, because we're a California corporation. The corporation cannot be influenced by a non-directed party. Everybody who has administrative command over the system needs to be a director of this SCRSO organization. This is not the RSC, the Regional Service Committee. This is the Regional Service Office. We're financially responsible for the health and welfare of our organization, legally bound to it. So I am the CIO. I am responsible for all of the computerized systems, as well as compliance of those systems. So it's not just that I'm in control of this is like part of my responsibility. It's not really even control. It's like I'm the one who decides who gets what kind of role. Like if you were a treasurer, you would not be a super user. you just wouldn't be one. You would have access to the billing information, but you wouldn't be able to change permissions for other users. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah. How do you see this being implemented at an RSC level?
So the RSC itself, unless it's a 501c3, cannot get this by themselves. It would have to be a nonprofit that actually procures this and then grants them use of it.
Gotcha.
That's so at the beginning of the presentation, I had a slideshow that showed what are the requirements to get this far, but I will put that out there and you guys can have that. I'll submit this to, so I think her name was Celine. I'm sorry. Hold on for just a second. I'll take a look at that.
Michelle.
It was Michelle. Yeah. Michelle C. I saw her last name and I'm like, oh, that's Celine. Okay. So, so like I said, over all the domains, there are 3 people. It's the chair of the regional service office, which is basically the executive officer of the nonprofit corporation, the IT director, and the CIO. Those are the only people who have admin access. It's just like a company.
Right. Okay. I guess I did miss that first part of it. To know that it had to be the board and the service office, because I came in just a couple minutes late. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So if you look right now at what I'm touching, this organization right here is the controlling organization of the account. It's not the controlling organization of NA. We know that we're not like that. But for the hierarchical view of this tool, we put all the areas and region underneath this parent organization. Also, our documents are sensitive, so we have an employee. We can't have the general fellowship looking at that information. Like the employee's pay is sensitive information, as well as social security number, anything else that might be there.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
No, sure. And they can self-manage. Each area can self-manage their own stuff the same way that we manage it. So that's there. Are there any other questions?
Sure.
Okay.
My name's Randy.
Hey.
Hey, I missed the front part of it too, but this can be done as a region or area. Can it be done as an area?
Well, interestingly enough, you can if you have a 501c3. 501c3 for the area. There are 2 areas in the Southern California region that have their own 501c3, so they could do it. It's just the lines are kind of blurred between what is your organization and what is your, what is the NA trusted servant, elected official thing. People still confuse that in our own region. They think that the regional service office is not a business, but it is. They think it's like a volunteer working there. He's not a volunteer. He's a special worker.
Hey,
everyone else is a volunteer though.
Yeah. Okay. For the purpose of archiving, when you did this presentation, for the purpose of ASC archiving, the drive, the Google, what is that drive?
G drive?
Workspace,
Yeah, the drive.
Workspace. We can create that, right? Without being, That's what I want to concentrate on. I want to get your information. Would you be able to help us set that up?
Well, are you talking about using Drive?
Workspace to archive.
You can have my information, but you have to have this suite of tools to do something like we're doing. The only other way to do that is by using personal drives and sharing links, which isn't the same.
Yeah, it ain't the same. No, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Miles?
Yeah.
Are you answerable to the regional service committee?
I am, yes.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually the single point of accountability for all decision making that has to do with IT services.
Heavy load.
Yeah,
Heavy load.
it's been a long time. I'm waiting for somebody to step up.
Just like we have a inmate step writing program, and it's
Mhm.
up and running, but they will not change hands, so it's dying.
This probably won't die. I think what's funny is that we had some detractors who didn't really want to do this, and you
This is
know,
deep.
and it was and they are pretty much our evangelists today. They were like, oh, I love it, I can do it on my phone and blah blah blah, I can do it on my iPad, I can do it on my Google device, I can do it on my Samsung, I can do it on my TV. You know, I mean, there are people who are, you know, they're hitting it now. They love it. And so, and what's really important is to have a naming convention. Really, the most important thing is probably a naming convention, because as soon as you start growing, you're going to need to have that convention in place. So like we have the Bay Cities area of Narcotics Anonymous. That's actually where I am now. I tried to implement their change, but because we're so fragmented right now, it's hard to get consensus. The BOD is the board of directors for the Southern California Region of Service Office. I don't know who did this, but this is totally the wrong way to do this. So you're seeing an example of bad naming convention. Yeah, so I will have to rename this.
Fucking convention.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So they actually have a convention workspace. It's right here.
I still got that convention, so it's all right.
So yeah, it's there you go. So they've actually created a, oh my gosh, I don't know how I keep doing this. I'm like working on my mom's kitchen because I was here doing work for her today. So that's why I'm so unfamiliar with my surroundings at this point. Okay, so if anybody has anything else, I think we're done.
Yep. We just need your information.
Okay, so why don't I put that up here?
Would you just look at that? Just look at that. Just look at it. 213 67. Is that 631?
Yeah, I'm gonna make this bigger. Look, oh, what happened here?
Oh yeah. The glitch.
Oh.
The glitch.
Oh.
The glitch. That's,
Oh, look,
Oh.
it was saved.
Oh,
Oh, see,
that was
you never had that. You never had that miracle happen in your life with Word.
Oh, would you just look at that? Just look at that. 83.
Asking for phone calls now.
And
It's coming.
let's see if he blows that up. Look at that. Look at that. The man is good.
Yeah, it's got to be 14 point or people can't read it. I'm giving all my marketing secrets away. Okay, so Art J has created some documentation that's actually in video form of how to use the G Suite and stuff. So if you want to get in touch with him, he is IT director at scrso.org. And I didn't get permission to give his phone number right now, so. So I'm in Pacific time, which, you know, and if you decide that you want to do this with your region, I will help you do your implementation.
Wow.
it's just, you'll have to follow some directions because there's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of stuff to do. But once it's up and it's running. It's been running since 2017. Okay.
Well, Mark,
Thank you.
so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mon.
All right.
You did
All
it,
right.
dude.
I wish I were there, man. I had a credit on Delta. I should have gone. Here, you know what? I can actually put the